All right. So I really wanted to talk a little bit today just about now that you're sort of, thinking about what you want to write about for your final paper. Um, Now it's time to really start narrowing that idea down and developing it more. And then finally, you're going to arrive at a claim. All right. And that's our push for this week, right? And going into the next week, we did, um, our pre-writing or our brainstorming, was our the summary response essay. But now we're going to start organizing our ideas a little bit. But before we do that, I just want to go over the writing prompt for this essay. All right, and yeah, I'll go over it now, and then I'll go over the proposal. Oops, I didn't want to do that. All right, let me just share the old screen here. All right, now if you're on D2L, you can go into this argument, essay, and draft proposal module. If yours says week 8, just refresh your page and it'll change for you. So first off, I want to go over the rough draft directions. All right, and this is the directions for the for the full on essay. All right, and again, I'm in this argument, essay, draft, and proposal module, but I'm just going to scroll down and open. Here it is. Here's the directions here, but here it is as a Word doc, and I already have one open, so I'm just going to look at one of these things. Okay, here we go. All right, prompt is kind of long, so bear with me. All right, I'll try to get through it as fast as I can. And then just like Tuesday, if you have any questions at any time, just hop in and stop me. All right. So here's your job this is actually what we're going to be working on for the remainder of the semester. So even if this project, may seem kind of long, just keep in mind that you have about a month and a half, to get all this wrapped up. Maybe even longer than that. All right. What's the day? 20th? Yeah, you got about 2 months. Got about 2 months to go through this process. All right. A well-formed argument, one that will persuade readers that your point of view is based on solid evidence, presents a carefully chosen and developed claim. That's what we're going to be working on this week, getting your claim together. All right, with persuasively compelling reasons and evidence to support that claim. So the first part of this assignment, or the second part, if you're counting the summary response essay, is you proposing an idea, you pitching that claim, you pitching your reasons, and you're not really pitching your evidence just yet, but you are going to pitch the type of evidence you're going to use. And I'll show you an example in a minute. All right, now, okay, hold on to your seats a little bit. For this project, you will have a minimum of 8 pages to take a stance on a debatable issue. All right, that's important. Okay, a debatable issue. Okay, so again, try not to argue, a statement of fact. Like if you're arguing about climate change, don't just argue that climate change is happening. All right, you have to propose a debatable idea, because right now the scientific consensus is that climate change is a real thing. So don't propose an idea that's a statement of fact, because you aren't going to have you can't make an argument out of that, because your reader's going to say, well, I know that, I can just do the research myself. So propose an idea. So if you are writing about climate change, maybe what should be done about climate change. All right, so take a stance on a debatable issue or propose an idea. All right, and all of your arguments are going to fall into one of those 2 categories. Either you're going to be taking an issue, like, here's this thing, abortion, like it's in the news right now. Here's abortion, and here's where I stand. All right, that's called a position argument. Like you have an issue and then you take a position on it. All right, or you can write a proposal argument, meaning like you're proposing an idea. Here's this problem, and here's what should be done about it, right? If you remember a couple summary responses ago, or a couple of assignments ago, we wrote that one about student loan forgiveness, and the author was critical of the program as it stands right now, but then they said, well, here's what should be done about it. All right. So you're free to write either proposal argument where you propose an idea or a solution to a pre-existing issue, or a position paper where you can say, here's this issue and here's my position on it. All right. But either or, as long as you make a claim, again, don't just write a paper where your claim is a statement of fact, because that's not a real claim. That's just, like I said, a statement of fact. All right. Take a stance on a debatable issue, propose an idea, and support it with credible, researched evidence. Okay. Credible, researched evidence. All right. Your thesis or your main claim should not be in the form of a question. So don't pose a question as your claim. Remember, you can begin with the question as your research question, but your research question is more for you. It's not for your reader. All right. So don't propose your claim in the form of a question. And again, that kind of makes you unsure about yourself when you, or it kind of makes you sound, unsure about your claim when you pose it as a question. All right. Claim should be the answer to a question, meaning like, what should be done about this issue, or where do you stand on this issue? All right. It should also not waver, meaning like it shouldn't be a pro or a con type thing. You should be, arguing in defense of your position, of your proposal. So once you make that claim, it's kind of like putting yourself out there. All right. And that's part of writing, part of this process. So, put yourself out there, put your claim out there and support it. Okay. And your claim should definitely not be an I believe, shouldn't be an in my opinion, shouldn't be an I feel. What's the other? I think, or shouldn't be an I think. Shouldn't be any of that, right? You should just make your claim, right? Make a claim and then, stand on it. All right. So it should confidently state the claim you want your audience to accept. All right. So again, we're going to have that question. What's your paper about? All right. Answer to that question is going to be your claim. All right. So think to yourself, what do you want the audience to accept? Okay. What do you want your audience to accept? All right. Now, for this paper, you will be required to cite a minimum of 5 credible sources using correct MLA formatting style and guidelines. We will go over that before you actually have to do it. So don't worry about it if you just need a refresher course. All right, we're also going to revisit, a lot of our books. We kind of took a break from our text as we were doing the rhetorical analysis, but there's still some stuff in our textbook I want to hit on. All right. The topic and claim are completely in your hands for this project. Completely, instead of completely, I'll say like 99% in your hands, because I do want us to have some conversation about your topic before you begin your draft. And really in that, I just want to make sure your whatever you're writing about, I just want to make sure that it's arguable. All right, but from there, take it and run with it. As long as it's an argument, right? And as long as it's not one of the things I told you not to write about. I'm about to go over that again. But as long as it's falls within those categories, I'm open to it. All right. Topic and claim is nearly completely in your hands for this project, so be sure to choose a topic that is debatable. Okay, remember, debatable, something with multiple perspectives. Okay, something with multiple perspectives. All right, make sure it's sufficiently narrow, because 8 pages might seem like a lot, but it's not enough to cover some topic that's going to require a book, right? So practice breaking your topic down. All right. Just for example, last semester I got this great paper about gentrification, and when the initial discussion was, hey Norwood, I want to write about gentrification, and I'm like, cool, that's a great topic. And then, as the student and I talked more, we just broke it down into something local, right? She ended up, deciding on gentrification in Detroit. All right, so just the subject of gentrification, like, it's so broad that will require, more than this paper to really do it justice. But if you do want to discuss gentrification, make it a local issue. All right, make it a local issue. Okay. Now, about your topic. Okay, make sure your topic is arguable. All right. And that's something I keep saying, but that's critical for this assignment. Make sure your topic is arguable. Statements of fact, not arguable, because your reader can just look it up. It's verifiable. All right. So no subjective arguments. This is better than that, right? Kobe is better than LeBron. LeBron is better than Jordan. PS5 is better than Xbox. Xbox is better than PS5. Okay, because all that just boils down to opinion when you really look at it. All right, so no, this is better than that or the best. Like the example I always like, McDonald's has the best fries. Subjective. You can't make that argument. Okay, even though we all know it's Wendy's. All right, no statements of fact. Global warming affects the planet. All right, of course it does. Okay, of course it does, but that is a very short paper. Or if that paper, it turns into an essay where you're telling your reader how global warming affects the planet. So you're not really making an argument. You're just kind of laying out some information that is, so you don't want to write a paper that is purely informational. Okay. You want to make an argument. All right. Also, no arguments rooted in conspiracies. Okay. No flat earth papers. No whatever the conspiracy du jour is. All right, so none of that stuff, because, and conspiracies could be fun to think about, could be interesting, but when it comes to making an argument, the evidence really isn't there. So if you find yourself having to search like the deep dark corners of the internet for your sources, you're probably heading in a more conspiratorial direction, right? So try not to go off the deep end, for this paper. Stay off YouTube. No, that's where conspiracies live, man, on YouTube. It's social media at times. Okay. Also, as I said last week, no arguments rooted in religion or faith. Whatever, as I said before, whatever your religion or faith brings to your own life, that's a great thing. But you can't like hinge an argument, on religious perspectives, because if it kind of makes the assumption that your audience has the same belief system as you, and if they don't, your argument could fall apart. So don't write about anything that you're gonna need to use like religion or faith, as a support. All right. But outside of those two elements, outside of those two categories, conspiracy based things and religion or faith based things, I'm pretty much open to the arguments that you come up with. All right. Oh, and no subjective arguments either. All right, but outside of that, I'm open. Okay. Your argument must be provable with credible evidence from reliable sources. Okay. This is important. Your argument must be provable with credible evidence from reliable sources. So what does that mean? All right. One, if you're proposing an idea, it has to be plausible, meaning like it has to be something that could realistically happen. All right. It has to be something that could realistically happen. All right. And that's what I mean by provable. Like if you're, there was like a universal healthcare paper I got, a couple semesters ago, and it was arguing for, universal healthcare in the US. And when I say something plausible, what you can do if that's your argument, or if you're arguing something like that, think about where that has happened, because now we're talking about precedent, meaning like this has happened before. What's up, Marcia?
Okay, so I think that's where I get kind of nervous when you just said you need something substantial, something credible. Okay, but then when you saying something credible, you just said don't write something that is before you said all that, you said don't write a paper that can be proven or something like that.
Yep. Just write.
Okay,
write.
So
Go ahead.
No, I'm listening. Go ahead.
No, just write about something that is that's provable, that you can, present enough evidence to either sway your audience to accept your idea, Marcia, or it's unrealistic to think that you're going to convince everybody in your audience to agree with you, but I think you can, convince them at least that your ideas are valid, right?
So what would be the difference in that in saying the earth is flat? That's what I'm just going by what you said. You was like, because I mean, that's still argumentative, but
you can't prove also, that though. There's no evidence that the earth is flat.
Okay.
So that's what I mean, like something that's arguable, because, and this is again why I don't want you all to write about conspiracies, because like right now there's no evidence that the earth is flat, right? But if you have somebody that's rooted in this flat earth ideology, and you present them all the evidence that, okay, the earth, is a sphere, right? And you can show them, really evidence dating back thousands of years, right? To all the way to today. But people who are rooted in that conspiracy will say, well, all that evidence is just part of the conspiracy.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. So that's why I want you to stay away from those topics, because, and it just in life, it's said, like, don't argue with a person who, is grounded in that kind of stuff, because everything you say to them or every piece of evidence you present to them, well, that's just part of the conspiracy. All right. So no conspiracy papers or religious papers. But again, as I said, outside of that, just pitch an idea. All right. Which you all are going to do, next week. Just pitch an idea. All right. And I'm willing to venture a guess that, most, if not all of your ideas will be arguable. Some may require a little bit of adjustment, but, I'm confident that you guys will come up with arguable stuff. And, if you're really, stumped again, I would just say, the same thing I've been saying. Just start with, stuff you care about. All right. What do you care about? What's close to you? What's close to your heart? All right. What's close to your heart? Okay. If you're having trouble settling on a topic, check out some of those databases we looked at earlier this week. Opposing views, points of view, and procon.org is not a part of our library, but it's a simple website to get to. It's just what I said, procon.org. So make sure you choose a topic that really, I say, choose something that you want to know more about, right? And choose something that, as I keep saying, something you care about, because you're going to be spending time researching this. You're going to be spending time writing about it. Maybe you're going to be spending time talking to people, because interviews can be a great source of research and evidence. All right. So maybe you want to interview some people or some person. All right. So you're going to be living with this for a while. So just make sure it's something that you care about. All right. Make sure it's something that you care about. And then the content of your essay should be substantial, well-researched, and interesting, but only you define what's interesting. All right. That's a subjective word. But try to know as much as you can about your topic, so that you may present an in-depth analysis that persuades your reader to accept your claim. Accept it as true, or accept it as, I disagree with some of what you said, but it was well argued. Okay. And, even, I get papers where it's something that, one, how I feel about your topic, my own personal positions, that doesn't interfere with, how or it doesn't influence how I look at a paper, because I've read some papers that are, just kind of the polar opposite of my view. But in looking at those papers, I can say, wow, this is really well argued. Even though I may not agree with it, but I can concede that it was well argued. And that's what you want from your audience, meaning, like, you're not, as I just said to Marcia, you're not going to be able to convince everyone, but I do think that you can at least present your position in a way that's well argued.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, something you're passionate about. Okay. Now, here's what I'm thinking, folks. Okay. We're about to get started on this proposal. All right. And my hope is, whatever you write about for this proposal, that's the idea that you stick with. All right. And because in about a week or so, or a couple of weeks, is going to be too late for you to change topics. And too late meaning, like, if you change topics, you might have to start the research process all over again. So, and now, if you feel that strongly about changing your topic, you know, that's up to you. All right, that's totally up to you. But I just say, just for really just for the sake of time, you know, try to, you know, like, settle on something that when you say to yourself, okay, this is what we're doing. This is what we're doing. All right. And, you know, even if you're thinking about like multiple topics, cool. Just shoot me an email. We can have a quick dialogue about that. And before, like, if you want to do that before you get started, that's fine. All right. Oh, okay. Finally, please note that this project offers an extra credit opportunity. All right, extra credit opportunity. And the extra credit is 3 points added to your score. All right, so whatever you get is going to be +3. And that might not seem like a lot, but that can turn a B to an A, turn a C to a B. Let's say you're at an 88, you know, which is a B, right? 3 points to take you into the A range. All right, so if you want that opportunity, it is there for you. All right. And, you know, as we get closer to, like, after we've gotten the draft written, I'll go over some strategies for, you know, your presentation. And, you know, it's my hope, you know, that, like, I've reserved the last day of class for anybody who wants to present. So, you know, you can come in and you can come in and show us what you got. All right. And for your presentation, you can just, you know, put the highlights of your essay. It doesn't have to be something like long and extensive. 3 minutes, 5 minutes, it goes by, like, if you ever address the crowd, 3 to 5 minutes goes by like extra fast. Yeah, fast to the point where you find yourself running out of time just to get all your ideas out. So, and we'll talk about some strategies though. In your presentation, you use PowerPoint slides, infographics, images, and/or video. I've had people bring in props. And that's the thing about the presentations. Some people, and it's a great opportunity to, you know, maybe the writing part of this essay is cool for you, but you really want to do something that's creative, you know, as an aside, because that's your thing, just kind of being creative. So this, you know, this presentation, like, I've gotten some really creative ones over the years. So I'm interested to see, you know, if I get anything here. And again, don't feel obligated to do it. It's just an opportunity that's out there. The paper is the main thing, though. All right. I've had some people, you know, just do recordings of them. Actually, you know, during the pandemic, you know, everybody recorded themselves, and I got some real, like, theatrical ones there. Like, one was almost like a mini movie, right? Because they were using like, the iPhone can do a lot. All right. So if you want to just be creative, that's cool. All right. Now, these are just some pointers, you know, as you get going. Don't rely on 1 to 2 sources. Distribute all your sources throughout your essay. Like, if all of your material comes from 1 to 2 sources, that's going to raise a red flag with your audience. All right. Because they're going to be thinking, like, why are you relying on this one source or these 2 sources? All right. This is a research project. It's not a rant. All right. So don't get on your soapbox for this essay. It's not an exploration of personal feelings. All right. Just make a claim and support it with your evidence. Okay. Now, you are going to have some quoted material in this essay. Okay. Some. All right. But don't overquote in this essay. All right. And I think like a good way to check that is, once you submit a paper, you know, check your turn-it in percentage. The sweet spot for a research paper, like the one we're writing, is like 10 to 15%. Meaning, like, when you check when you submit a paper and you get that the little percentage in the bar, the colored bar next to your paper, and you get that colored bar next to your paper, You want to be in like the 10 to 15% range. 20 is kind of pushing it, but it's we can work with 20. But if you start going beyond 20, all right, and like a higher percentage doesn't always mean plagiarism. Sometimes it just means that you overquoted. All right. And if it's a little bit high in your rough draft and you want to just leave it and say, hey, Norwood, I know my percentage is a bit high. Let's talk about how I can reduce it. That's fine too. For your rough draft, really, I just want you to get it on paper, because that's really the hardest part, getting your argument out and structuring it in a way that's going to affect your audience. So just get it out for your rough draft. All right. But avoid a string of quotations or paraphrases. The majority of your essay should be your own words. Okay. And we'll talk about how to get there. All right, when we go over some more structural things. Don't write an essay that is purely informational. Be bold. Take a stand. Take a stand on an issue or propose a logical solution to an issue. Papers with no definite stance will not succeed. So again, if you're writing a paper about childhood obesity, cool. Make an argument about it. Okay. School lunches should be healthier, right? School lunches should provide more healthy options. Okay. Or school lunches should provide free, healthy options for students, right? Students, elementary schools and so on and so forth should, allow kids to be more active. All right. So propose a solution. Don't just write a paper about, with all these childhood obesity statistics. That could be part of your paper, because if you're going to propose a solution to a problem, first you have to explain the problem, right? So I totally get that part of it, but that's not going to be like the centerpiece of your paper. The centerpiece is that claim. Here's this problem, right? But now here's what should be done about it. All right. So again, don't just write a paper that's informational. What's the solution, to your issue, or what's your position, on this what's your position, on this issue? All right. Lengthy quotes and paraphrases should be avoided. You don't want to have extra long quotes in this paper. If you do have to have a block quote, I'll show you how to format that, but you try not to rely on those for this paper. Some things are going to be just so, I guess, perfect that you don't want to alter the quote in any way by shortening it. But those occasions are rare. For the most part, we can get by with just short quotes for this paper. All right. And then the instructor, I'm not part of your audience for this paper. Okay. But I am, like, Quincy Norwood, just the regular person just trying to figure stuff out, just like everybody else is. Like, that's who's part of your audience. So, and I say all that to say, like, for this paper or any paper, don't write what you think the teacher wants to hear. All right. Because at the end of the day, teachers, we want to hear a well-argued paper. That's it. Like, what it's about, that's up to you. All right. That's up to you. So just make sure your argument, it's well done to the best of your ability. And then if you want to think of an audience, think about, skeptical, meaning like they're not just going to outright believe you, but rational, meaning like they're open to your evidence. Okay. Skeptical but rational people that are interested in knowing more about your issue. All right. And then here's just some questions. These are more questions for when you put your draft together, so we can revisit these. And then here's our timeline, folks. If you got a calendar, I'll put these dates on D2L, and they're also here on the assignment. They're on the assignment folders. But if you got a calendar you use, or if you have a planner, put these dates in there, because we have enough time to get all of this done. All right. But it's plenty of time if you follow this sequence. Okay. So the summary response should be in today. If it's not in yet, get it in as soon as you can, because now what's due next week, 1 week from today, is the proposal, where you're going to propose an idea. And I'm going to show you a couple of examples of that. All right. And then what's due after that is your annotated bibliography, which is just like you compiling your research, all right, in an organized way. All right, and I'll show you an example of that next week when you have to when it's officially assigned. All right, and then you get 2 weeks to put that draft together, a rough draft. Okay, so from the 3rd to the 17th, right? But realistically, you can even start your draft after you get your proposal in. Like after I've taken a quick look at your proposal and say, okay, good topic, get started. You can get started as soon as that occurs. All right, as soon as that occurs. And your proposals, I just look at them and put some comments on D2L, and I try to look at those as soon as I get them or within 24 hours after I get them, so you'll have enough time just to get started on your paper. So just make sure you get that in on time, because that's like your ticket to begin your draft. Don't begin your draft until we've had some contact about what you're going to write about, because I don't want to like read your draft and say, oh man, this is about like prayer in school or something like that, something that's religious, and it's like, man, we weren't supposed to be writing about this stuff. All right, nothing wrong with if that's your belief, right? All right, so 2 weeks to write the rough draft, and then you're out for the November break that following week. So we're going to conference the 21st, or excuse me, November 29th and December 1st. And then you'll have another couple weeks to put the final draft together, right? And then presentations are due the 15th, which is our final meeting. All right, so this is our timeline as far as the assignments go for the remainder of the semester. There's not going to be any surprises or anything like that. There may be some MLA stuff we'll do online, but outside of that, here's what we got going. All right, here's what we got going. Okay, so get this in today, and then let me go over this real quick. All right, so what I just went over is in this argument, essay, draft, and proposal module. And now let me bring up, I have a couple of examples of proposals. All right, if you just click argument, essay, proposal, and I'm just gonna look at this first one. All right, now you can use this same template. All right, here's just the directions. Okay, your proposal should, I just skip the first line. Your proposal should be written with the goal of convincing others that you have a worthwhile topic, a plan to execute your research, and an idea of how you present your argument to your audience. Please take this aspect of the research project seriously as, oh man, this is so true. And I see it happen a couple times every semester. Rush job proposals usually lead to low quality papers. And what's that saying is, like, the work you do on the front end of this paper usually reflects in the results, So, spend some time, putting this putting this proposal together. You got a week, and a lot of this, the proposal is just you like thinking through your paper. All right. So on the other hand, well thought out proposals typically lead to successful papers. All right. Use the it says on the back, because when I used to print this out, it was front back. So please note that only typed proposals will be accepted, meaning you got to get it uploaded to D2L. Now, keep this template. All right. So there's 2 of them. They're about different topics. All right. Keep this template the same. You're going to keep the date, right? Actually, you can just do this. You can get rid of the stuff that I already have in here, and then just type over it with your own stuff. Okay, and that way you don't have to like recreate this document. If you want to recreate it, you can, but you don't have to. All right, and then put my name here, the instructor. Okay, and then we're going to keep it a little bit formal here. I know it might seem a bit too formal because I already have your email addresses. All right, but this is you and your school email address, and then what's it about? All right, you're not making your claim yet. This is just the topic. Okay, you can get rid of this. Really, you can get rid of all this because you're going to put your own stuff in here, but your paper is going to look like this. What's the subject of your paper? meditation as part of the K through 12 curriculum. That's it. That's what your paper is going to be about. Okay. But then the next line, what's the claim? Okay. What's the claim? This is going to be your working thesis. This is where you present your argument. Okay. This is where you ask yourself, all right, now, self, what do I want the audience to accept? What's the claim that I want to argue in favor of in my paper? Okay. What's the claim I want to argue? All right. Remember, the claim has to be an argument, has to be something debatable, has to have like multiple perspectives. Meditation should be, just those words, should be, right? Just indicating that, indicating to the audience that I'm proposing an idea. Meditation should be part of the K through 12 curriculum in the US because of its proven benefits to behavior and learning. Okay. That's an argument. Okay. Because there's as many reasons, maybe parents or instructors feel like it shouldn't be. All right. So now that gives me or the student, gives you, room to argue. All right. So now think about your claim and notice that this is a working thesis. Working thesis is, you got the idea, but you just may say it differently when you put your paper together. Okay. So, for your proposal, just give me the claim. Give me the claim as plain as you can make it. All right. This should be happening. This should not be happening. Okay. So try to make your claim, at least for your proposal, try to make it as clear as possible. And if you want to go there, as simple as possible. Just get it out. Just get it out. Okay. Just get it out. All right. So now, introduction to the problem. This answers the question, why does this matter? Okay. Why does this matter? And I've had students use this part of the proposal to almost treat it as their introduction, and I've seen some that even like copy paste this part, as their introduction. That's fine. Okay. You don't have to reinvent the wheel, when you start your draft. All right. So that's cool. All right. Or this could be, some elements of this could be your introduction and you just want to revise it a bit. That's cool. But the introduction to the problem, why should I care? Not I, the instructor, but I as a member of your audience. Why does this matter? Okay. An increasing number of elementary to high school age children are reporting experiencing anxiety, reduced attention spans resulting from overstimulation, and issues managing their emotional well-being. The effects of these issues are often displayed in undesirable behaviors, such as violence, becoming withdrawn, and poor academic performance. In the past, most student issues were addressed with punishments or they were outright ignored. Though some of the older methods of student management may still have some merit, perhaps it's time to rethink the way education is delivered in the US. Meditation has been proven to reduce behavioral issues and increase focus among students, creating an environment that is more conducive to learning. All right. So there's this behavioral issues and these learning related issues, that exist, and perhaps meditation could be part of that solution, right? So think about why first, a good place to start. Why do you care about this issue? What makes this issue important to you, right? And I think that'll help you, come up with that part about, why your audience should care. Okay. And the truth is, if you don't care about your issue, it's going to be difficult to convince an audience to care about it. So again, we go back to what I was saying before about just choosing something you like. Okay. So now here's your why. Here's your purpose. All right. Here you discuss why your project matters. What questions will you be addressing? This study will prove how incorporating meditation into public schools curriculum can improve academic performance and behavior. The questions to be addressed in this essay are, how can meditation improve behavior? How can meditation improve cognitive function? How would meditation fit into schools curriculum? How can schools get parents to buy in? Okay. And there may be more questions I address if I was to flesh this paper out, but this is what this is what is what was come up with for this proposal. All right. So think about, what questions will you have to address in your paper? And I think a good place to begin, if you're proposing a solution, how's it going to work? How's it going to work? Like if you're proposing, free college, free tuition, how's that going to work? Right. And that's not something that you will have to answer in your proposal, but it could be a question that you say that your paper is going to address. All right. And then who's your intended audience? And I think, who stands to gain the most from reading your paper? Who are the stakeholders in your paper, right? For this one, is parents, students, teachers, administrators. Okay. So if you can't think of it, or if you want to go for a general audience, that's fine. But really try to think specifically, who stands to benefit from, reading your paper and reading your ideas. All right. Then documentation style is going to be the same for all of us, MLA. All right. Now, okay, this is important. This is going to make your paper. Your reasons. Why should we accept your claim? Okay. For your reasons, there's 6 here, but try to come up with a minimum of 4. All right. But I would say keep going once you get 4, because you may not use all of them in your paper. Okay. You may not use all of them in your paper. So my advice to you for this part is to brainstorm. Brainstorming, whatever you come up with, because the more you come up with, the more freedom you have, like to choose. I want to talk about this one, maybe not that one, and then these other 2. All right. But if you only have 4, or if you have under 4, it's going to be difficult, as you're putting your paper together, to come up with these additional reasons. Also, coming up with this stuff beforehand, it'll help you avoid redundancy. Like, just kind of saying the same thing throughout your paper, right? So try to come up with at least 4 different reasons. And the reasons are why you believe your claim is true. Okay. So try to picture your essay unfolding, right? So increased attention span, reduced or completely eliminated incidents of violence, increased self-control, students develop more respect for themselves and others, improved academic performance, and reduced anxiety. Okay, these are some reasons that will probably be in this paper if it was, a fully developed paper. All right, and then now you aren't presenting your evidence yet. Okay. Oh. See, my mom is over there listening to Tears for Fears. 80s pop classic. All right. All right. So you aren't presenting your evidence just yet, but you are going to discuss the kinds of evidence that you're going to use. Okay, the type of evidence. Okay, so types of sources. Here you will document the types of sources you will use to support your argument. What evidence will most effectively reach your audience? That should be a question mark. All right, now here's your response, or here's a response. This study will utilize data showing student improvement in behavior and academic performance. Okay, so if I say that meditation can improve academic performance, that's a reason, but I also need some evidence to show my reader how that's true. Okay, I will use data showing decreased incidence of violence and interviews with teachers. Who's involved? Who's involved in your topic, right? Because maybe you want to get it from like a direct source. All right, that's fine. It's fine to use a combination of evidence, and I actually think that's more beneficial to you if you use like different types of evidence. So maybe you do have some articles. Maybe you do have an academic journal, but you also have this interview that you did with somebody who is like actively involved in this thing that you're talking about. All right. decreased incidence of violence, and interviews with teachers participating in mindfulness and meditation curricula, detailing the positive impact of meditation. All right. And then my solution. So now that I showed the reader why it's going to work, or it could work, I got to show them how it's going to work, because students, they're in school for about 8 hours a day, and every minute of that 8 hours is occupied. So I have to show the reader where meditation is going to fit in. Okay. I have to show the reader how it's not necessarily going to come at the expense of, these other, reading, writing, and arithmetic, things. All right. And now, for the solution as well for you, if you're talking about maybe, so the war on drugs, right? In the U.S., we kind of treat that as a criminal issue, right? Where our solution is kind of like drop the hammer, all right, and incarceration and all that stuff. But in other countries, there's a tendency to look at drug abuse as a health issue, right? So the solution that's practiced in other countries is like treatment, or even if a person is not entering treatment, it's safety, right? So if you're arguing for something like that to become policy in the U.S., you can look at what's happening in some of these other countries as precedent, meaning like it works here, so it has been done before. All right, and that's not to say we can do exactly what's done in some other countries, but we know that it can work. All right, and then I don't know why I got MLA twice. All right. Finally, who's going to object to you? What are they going to say? You don't have to have your response in here yet, but you do have to note like what you're going to respond to. So if I say meditation should be a part of the K through 12 curriculum, I have to respond to the idea that using class time for meditation could distract from the quote unquote core curriculum. Okay, because that's going to be an objection. So think about when you propose your solution or when you take your stance, think about potential objections. All right, and a good place to look at that stuff is one of those opposing viewpoints websites, because one of those opposing viewpoints databases, because then you could see who's on the other side. Who's on the other side and what are they saying? What are they saying? All right. And then I would also have to respond to parents' fear that meditation could force a certain religious doctrine on children. All right. When, meditation doesn't always have to be, connected to religion. All right. So who's going to object to you? You don't have to know every objection, but what are the main ones? Okay. What are the main ones? And that's going to help you develop your paper. Okay. And once you get your proposal in, when we talk about like drafting strategies, I'll show you some different places where you can place your objection. It doesn't always have to be, the very end of your paper. Okay. It could be like interspersed, throughout your paper. It could be in the beginning, or it could be the end. Okay. It just depends on how your paper is unfolding. All right. And there's another, the second example is, it's the same, it's just on a different topic. All right. But for your proposal, like I was saying before, you can just, instead of recreating all this, you can just get rid of, what I already have here, and then just do your thing. All right. So this is due 1 week from today. Okay. So you got a week to think about it. And the draft, I know I went over it today, but it's not due until well into next month. All right. So just focus on the proposal between now and next week. All right. I know that was a ton of information. I'm aware of that. Any comments or thoughts or questions, before we dismiss for the day?
I have one.
Yeah, go ahead, Mike.
So mainly when it comes to the formatting and wouldn't it be formatting and the subject matter of the paper, right? Now, what I'm basically saying is that when it came to what you were explaining to all of us,
Mhm.
wouldn't it be that the formatting has to be up to date as well? So that
Yep.
it's not outdated?
Yeah, for your proposal, you're just going to use this format, right?
Okay,
So this can be your template. Like I said, you can just keep the bold categories, but you can just type in your own stuff. You can delete, or you can just type over, what's already here.
okay,
Yeah.
so
So
will this also be on D2L as well?
yep, this is on D2L, and it's in the argument, essay, draft, and proposal module.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Marcia, so you got your hand up?
Yeah, but it was just for after class.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So if there are no further questions, or like I said, if anybody just wants to run a topic past me via email, that works. That works, right? Or I'm doing the same thing this afternoon at 1 o'clock. So if you want to join that class, just email me and I'll send you the link. All right. If you need 2 doses of Comp 2, all right. Said no student ever. All right. So I'm about to end the recording.